Good day. My name is Teresa Fredericks from Growing Businesses Using Projects, bringing you a series of videos on public procurement. I'm going to be dealing specifically with the implementation of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act 2015 and its amendments, Trinidad and Tobago. The agenda for this video, we're going to be looking at 4 areas. What is public procurement? The rationale for the change to a new system of public procurement. The intent of the reform of the public procurement system. The move from the old system to the new system. The implementation of the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act 2015 and its amendments. So before we go further, we should discuss what is public procurement. And Dr. Keith Rowley, in the capacity of Minister of Trade 2008, offered the following definition: the acquisition of goods, services, works, or a combination of all these things using public funds to accomplish specified public purposes. Public sector procurement is quite different from private sector procurement because the state is expected to comply with certain regulations and policy guidelines to not only ensure value for money, but also to meet specific, desirable socio-economic objectives. I use this because it is very comprehensive and it speaks to what is the responsibility of the state. The Inter-American Development Bank offered another look at procurement, has stated that the application of sound policies and practices characterized by equitable, fair, and open procedures is indispensable not only for creating dependable and stable markets that are able to attract efficient contractors and suppliers, but also to safeguard the principle of accountability and the cost-effective use of public funds. So it introduced the requirement that public procurement is conducted in such a way that it leads to dependable and stable markets. The Inter-American Development Bank definition speaks to the need for the public procurement system to lead to creating dependable and stable markets. Dr. Rowley's statement addresses the fact that the state has to be concerned with equitable and sustainable development of the country, and the objectives of procurement must serve this end. The IDB statement on procurement speaks to the 3 main principles of transparency, accountability, and value for money. It reflects a concern that the procurement system should be based on sound policies and practices and on equitable, open, and fair procedures. This is important to a country's ability to attract efficient contractors and suppliers and can result in more accountability and cost-effective use of public funds. So when we look at the diagram in the middle, we get various aspects of public procurement: public financing, program delivery, supply market operations, public sector governance and management arrangements, policy imperatives, stakeholder issues and influences. All of these have to be addressed. So what is the rationale for this change? What led to this change? There were several issues. The legal and regulatory framework applied mainly to government ministries and departments and some statutory authorities, and not all users of public money, for example, civil society, and everybody else who uses public money. For instance, somebody who runs a halfway house and who is getting money from government to assist them, that person should be covered under the Act. There is the need for a framework that applies objective standards evenly across all stages of the process and to all the actors in the process. We are going to be discussing that a little more, but the Central Tenders Board only saw about one aspect of the procurement, but there were other aspects of the procurement, and we needed to have an oversight agency that looked at all aspects of the procurement. Thirdly, the scope of public procurement was largely limited to the tendering stages, in which offers of supply are invited and contracts awarded, but needed to include both the prior design stage, in which needs are identified, scope of works determined, cost estimated, and bid packages prepared, as well as the subsequent implementation stage, in which the performance of the contract is managed. I decided to jump ahead and show you what I'm talking about. This is the entire procurement cycle. And what we are seeing is that the Central Tenders Board only came in areas 4 to 9. They only came in the tendering process, but they did not have a part in designing the procurement. They did not have a part in executing the procurement, implementing the procurement. So what does that mean? An agency wants to put up a new building. It designs the building, sends in all the information. The Central Tenders Board will take that information and go out and get people to bid, and it's going to award a contract, and then that is returned to the agency, and the agency oversees the implementation of the building or the construction of the building. So what you needed is to have one person who can look at all the aspects of procurement, because a lot of corruption could take place in the design. We have a lot of questions about questionable purchases of land for projects and those kind of things. A lot of problems could happen in the implementation. All right, you have buildings built and they're falling down. What happened? What was the supervision like? Why do we have these issues? So this is what we're talking about when we talk about the scope of or coverage of procurement under the Central Tenders Board. So what were some of the other issues that led to the need for reform? There was the existence of parallel procurement systems, for instance, CTB, NIPDEC, National Hospital Management Company System, State Enterprise System, and there was not a coming together of these systems. So you may have different procedures and policies taking place within these different bodies. Then there was increasing concerns relating to guidance and control, lack of transparency and accountability, and unfair practices. There was the absence of standardization of procurement documentation. Everybody followed their own policies and procedures. Another is there's a lack of general oversight of the current procurement system, and when I showed you the diagram, it spoke to the need for oversight of the entire procurement cycle. There was the absence of a strong regulatory framework that resulted in inadequate levels of transparency and accountability. The public was not being supplied with adequate information on tender opportunities, the status of bids and the awards and progress of major projects. There were significant human resource limitations, particularly at the CTB and the line ministries. There are two areas we will have to revisit over and over again as we go through these videos. One, the public was not being supplied with information on the progress of major projects. This is an area that is very deficient, in that you know the Brian Lara is being built and the other one is being built, but you don't have any information in terms of status updates, regular status updates on these projects. And human resource limitations. One of the concerns I have with the implementation of the Act is the requirement, if it is not changed, a significant amount of human resources to man this. I think the scope is too wide, and we're going to be talking about how this could be dealt with. So this later on. What is necessary is us to focus on what is the end game, what it is we wanted, and this is what the reform was trying to do. Achieve the quality of governance envisaged by Vision 2020. Strengthen and promote confidence in public institutions. Guarantee substantial market share to local businesses in order to develop and promote domestic industry. This could be done very well given the reform, local government reform. Take advantage of developments in information and communication technology. Ensure that domestic procurement practices are in conformity with international best practice and meet the requirements of the Caribbean single market and economy. That is what we were trying to do. In a nutshell, this came from the white paper, the reform of the public procurement system. So we are moving away from Central Tenders Board to the Office of Procurement Regulation. We are moving away from the old system of procurement where there was no oversight of many parts of the cycle to the new system of procurement. But this new system, there are problems that have to be addressed. And we will dive a little more into the new system in a subsequent video. But what is the Act trying to do? The Act, the Public Procurement Act, is saying a public body shall carry out public procurement and the disposal of public property in a manner that is consistent with the objects of the Act. What are the objects of the Act? To promote in public procurement and disposal of public property. A lot of people overlook this disposal of public property aspect, but that is a lot of work. So it is not just procurement. You are dealing with disposal of all the items of public property. And we are going to be promoting principles of accountability, integrity, transparency, and value for money, efficiency, fairness, equity, and public confidence, and local industry development, sustainable procurement, and sustainable development in public procurement and the disposal of public property. So this is what we are promoting: accountability, integrity, transparency, value for money, efficiency, fairness, equity, public confidence, local industry development, sustainable procurement, sustainable development. All right, so we're going to be revisiting this. An exciting area. I like this area a lot. Local authorities have to put in place systems to ensure that in its operations, the stated requirements are adhered to by all the parties involved in the procurement function. Good day. If you like my content, give it a thumbs up, and remember to look out for the procurement videos. We are going to be dealing with public procurement. I want to put on a record that I strongly support the Prime Minister in that there's a need to make the system easier to implement. And we're going to be talking about how this could be done in subsequent videos.